What's going on, everybody? NASCAR Coast to Coast is coming at you. A brand new episode this Thursday, August the 27th. We had some drama in the ARCA Menard series on the dirt as that series hit the first of two dirt mile races on the season. We'll tell you what happened on Sunday. Plus, Burt Myers is officially now a 12-time Bowman Gray track champion in the modifieds. We'll talk about his season. He joins us on the show to discuss that, plus his Smart Modified Tour championship aspirations. And Lee Pulliam is going NASCAR racing full-time next year. We'll tell you where, and all that and more coming up next year on NASCAR Coast to Coast. And it all starts right now. Welcome in, everybody, to NASCAR Coast to Coast, where we talk about all things NASCAR regional and touring series from coast to coast here on the Motor Racing Network. My name is Chris Wilner, pit reporter for the Motor Racing Network, joined in studio as well by Pat Jaggers, our producer, as we kind of put a bow on the ARCA Menard series first trip on the dirt mile in Springfield. Wasn't without any drama. We'll get to that in just a minute. But we have to talk to the guy who's now a 12-time Bowman Gray Stadium track champion in the modified division. It is none other than the world-famous Mr. Burt Myers, and he joins us on the hotline. Burt, congratulations. I just told you it's a good thing we're talking to you, or every time I talk to you, you know it's a good thing. And we get to talk about another championship this year. You wrapped it up over the weekend. I know Mother Nature kind of had some other plans as far as the feature, but just kind of describe that weekend and the emotions of finally getting to 12th and putting yourself in a new history book mark here this year.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. But, man, you know, the most stressful time of the year for us is if you're leading the points going into Bowman Gray that last race. And I think I probably said it on here before. That event for the point leader is kind of like riding a motorcycle down the highway. You're a whole lot more worried about what's going on around you than what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
And so you just never know. So the goal was to go over and try to qualify on the pole and get control of the race and just kind of, you know, dictate our own outcome. And we did that for a little bit and then had some restart issues with some dirt and some, you know, the track was pretty greasy. And like you said, the weather kind of played a little bit of a part. We ended up second in the race, but did take home our 12th championship. So the greedy racer in me wanted to go back racing and try to win that race too. But, you know, for us to be able to capture that championship was definitely special for us.
And we talk every year that we've had you on the show, and of course that is usually followed by a championship, about, you know, what separates a championship from another or a season from another. Obviously this year was huge with number 108, you know, obviously all-time leader now officially in the modified division. We don't have that one sportsman race there that was kind of hanging over your head for a while, but when you look at the holistic view of 2026, what maybe made this year a little bit different or maybe separated itself from some of your other championship years?
I don't know. I think that it just makes it more special because it is a record-tying championship. And it's so funny because I've got 107 modified wins, and I've got one sportsman win. And when Matt Dillner interviewed me the other night, I said, yeah, you know, y'all always say I'm the winningest driver, but I've got this and this and that. And he said, why do you always argue with me when I try to call you the winningest driver at Bowman Gray Stadium? So,
yeah.
You know, I think this year was special because it did tie and break some records. But at the same time that, you know, it was just kind of business as usual for us to go over and try to win as many poles and races as we could. And we had a great year, man. We really did. You know, the wins, the poles, the lap sled, the fastest lap of the year, and to be the champion, it was just, man, it was a good year.
You know, I know you're competitive, and you talked about wanting to go race, you know, to finish it out there on Saturday night. There is that one stat, though. I think you finished in the top 10 of every race except one. What happened there?
So it was tell me about it. It broke my heart. So it was a twin 50 night, and on a twin 50 night, we won the first race, and then the winner draws 8, 10, 12, 14, or 16, and that's how many they invert for the second race. Well, it's a twin 50 with a cone, so usually you can work your way back through the field.
Right.
Well, on that particular night, I drew 16th. I got to 14th. We had one caution on lap 5 and went the last 45 laps with no caution. So we were just kind of stuck there in 14th and weren't able to move up. But that particular night was the next to last race of the year. And obviously I was battling Tim for the championship, and I beat Tim in both races. So big picture, it was still a good night, but it did break my heart that I broke my streak for a top 10 finishing.
I know. I was gutted for you when I saw that. I said, "What do you mean he finished 14th? I thought he's a top 10 winning machine." But I think I watched a video too, Burt. I think it was with Matt talking about kind of just the championship in your year, and he asked an interesting question. I kind of want you to elaborate on is, drivers oftentimes they kind of have priorities in their career. They want to go for wins and they want to be the winningest driver of all time. Others want to focus on the championships and the legacy they leave behind. Where do you kind of put the emphasis, or what means more to you? Is it the championships now that you've tied the record and you're going to be going for number 13 next year, or is it that winning number mark that you want to continue to balloon and basically leave it to where no one else is going to ever catch you?
Well, I mean, both, but just like I told Matt, I think I've always been focused on wins. That started earlier in my career, and with that being said, I think that cost me some championships. Back when I was younger, I guess like you could say my goal that night was to win the race. I didn't look at big picture. I looked at what's it going to take for me to win this race. And if it meant moving you out of the way for 10th to get to 9th, that's what I did. And, that ruffled some feathers, and at Bowman Gray, that can cause a problem. And so I think that cost me several championships in my early years. So I always focused on wins, but both. When you get to this point where I do have 12 and I do have 107 or 108, now it's just trying to get as many wins as possible and then ultimately at the end of the year be the champion as well. But, there'll be a day, we can sit here and talk about it, but there'll be a day where I finally do quit and I can say, okay, let's look back on it. But for now, I'm looking forward to see what's coming next.
Absolutely. I know you're not done yet. I think you said you've got many, many more years of this left into you. So, I guess what are the next, obviously, aside from the wins and the championships, is there other things milestones you want to hit? I know you want to get number 13 to put yourself solely in that number 1 position for track champions next year. But what else is kind of on your bucket list as you kind of sit this point in your career?
Well, I don't know. I mean, those obviously I'm going to be running Bowman Gray Stadium, Lord willing. That'll be where I run, weekly. I've got some big plans for the Smart Tour this year coming up next year.
Okay.
I'm trying to make plans to maybe run a few Whelen Modified Tour races. That's one thing I haven't done is I don't have my name in the win column in the Whelen Modified Tour.
Sure.
And believe this or not, yesterday afternoon, and I'm actually sitting in it right now. I just pulled up to my shop. I acquired a 1998 Grand Marquis.
Wow.
That in the next couple of weeks is going to be ready for the Crown Vic Series. So that just tells you, from modifieds to Crown Vics to trucks to Cup, if it's got a steering wheel, that's always been my joke. If it's got a steering wheel, I'll drive it.
I feel like that Crown Vic deal that fits with your personality to a T. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with that.
Well, it's fun, and that's why we're supposed to be doing this is because we love it and it's fun. And a lot of times when you get caught up in the moment, and just like Saturday night, trying to win a championship, it feels like work. It feels like a business, and it feels like you have. And we do take it serious, but at the same time, when I get in a Crown Vic or I get in a Legends car or something like that, I just try to embrace the moment and go out and do what I love to do, which is drive a race car.
Absolutely. Before we kind of look at the rest of the weekend and the rest of your year, I know this season, too, seeing your son Slate find the success at Bowman Gray. I mean, when you look at your family's history dating back to the 50s, if not even a little bit before, with your great uncle, your grandfather, your dad, and then, of course, now you and your son Slate, how special is it to just, the family aspect of racing is what I enjoy a lot, not just the competition, but for you to have that lineage and now to see what Slate's been able to do both in the Smart Tour and as well at Bowman Gray, just how proud are you as a dad, not just a racer, but a dad?
Well, it's awesome. As a racer growing up, you always want one of your kids to follow in your footsteps. And, Slate this year, I think we'd always kind of had in our mind, once he won his first one, the lightning would come out of the bottle. Yeah. And we've all seen that. And then the rascal beat me off the outside pole in the finale the other night on the start of the race. And the car, we probably overcompensated and tightened the car up just a little bit too much to be conservative. And the Joker beat me off the front row. So for me and Slate to line up on the front row and for him to beat me straight up, I mean, you're going to hear the naysayers say, oh, yeah, he gave his son a break. I did not give my son a break. I did not cut him a break. And it's funny because Chris Weaver actually called our radio transition between me and my spotter, and we were both pretty upset. So for Slate to do that straight up and to beat me straight up, that was probably made me more proud than anything, just because, he got up on the wheel and he didn't say, he was careful, I guess, but it wasn't that Dad's racing for a championship. It was, I'm here to win. And that's what he tried to do. And I think he when I was following Slate, it looked like to me he had a whole lot better car than I did. So I think he had a real shot to win that race and had a mechanical problem. So, but yeah, to answer your question, no matter what sport, the dad wants the kids to follow in his footsteps. So for Slate to be carrying on the Myers name like he is, it does make me and my whole family proud.
Yeah, absolutely. That was certainly a memory I know we won't soon forget, and we'll kind of see what happens next year, because it seems like the student is becoming the master now. So, Dad, you got to get it back up on the wheel here, and it could come down to both of you maybe for a championship. Wouldn't that be special next year?
Dude, wouldn't that be something? I've always said when we leave this shop, we want Myers 1, 2, 3, and so obviously I want to win, but if I can't win, I want Slade or Jason to win. So that'd be pretty cool for us to be able to do that. To me and Jason and Slade, all three of us, to be battling for a championship next year. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know the weekend was also special. Friday we had the Kyle Busch Invitational. I've got my Kyle Busch hat on. What a special night it was. I know you got to take part in the Legends deal. We had some of the best Legends racers. We had 18 Bandolero drivers. I think the stands were about just as packed as they were Saturday night. What did it mean to you to be a part of that and to see that outpouring of support for Kyle and Samantha and Brexton, who was out there racing? And I feel like this is something that's going to take off, and we're going to kind of have this as an annual tradition as a part of Bowman Gray's history.
Yeah, just the fact that it was Kyle's idea to start with.
Yeah.
And, obviously we wanted Kyle to be there with us, but we know he was there in spirit. And for it to benefit such a great foundation like Bundle of Joy for Samantha and Kyle and the whole family and everybody's life that foundation touches. I think I mentioned this. It's not just a 501c where, it's a tax write-off. Samantha and Kyle created this foundation to actually change lives and to help people. So that in itself was enough reason for anybody to want to participate. And a guy asked me, why would you want to participate in this race? And I said, the question is, why not?
Yeah.
So, to be able to do that and, to talk to Brexton and Samantha and to try to do our small part to try to do what we could to benefit the foundation and show some love for the family and for Kyle, we were honored to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And then, hey, there was the announcement, too, that the Truck Series going to have a points-paying race there at the stadium next year. Saw Raja Karut doing some burnouts as well. We talked about it. You participated in the Clash the last couple of years, but what do you think the truckers are going to do there? I can't imagine if we saw how chaotic the Cup race was, what the truckers are going to be doing there next year.
Yeah, I think obviously you can imagine. I've already put feelers out
there
so that I can be a part of that event. You knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be cool, man. I think the trucks are the closest thing in the top three or the top divisions in NASCAR. The trucks are the closest to what I consider a short track racer's mentality. And yes, they race on speedways, but when those guys get to short tracks, they get in there, they lean on each other, they bump and they grind, and they get after it. And I think that'll produce some really good racing at Bowman Gray. Bowman Gray has a reputation, and I've said this before too. I see a lot, or I hear a lot of people that say, Bowman Gray is a joke. It's around a football field. It's a quarter mile. It's a high-priced demolition derby. Those people have never been there. And so I always encourage people, before you knock it, just come watch. Just come see it, because you can race at Bowman Gray Stadium. If the guy will let you race, you can run side by side with the guy for laps after laps after laps. And I think the guys in the Truck Series hopefully are professional enough and have the right mentality coming in that they're going to put on a really good show. And man, I'd heard it was coming, and then obviously the announcement the other night made it official. So, yeah, I'm already working on being a part of that race.
Well, good. I'm already working on making sure I put my money on Burt Myers there then next year because it's going to be a lot of fun.
There you go.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'll have to certainly make sure that I'll be out there to watch that, definitely. Before we let you go, I know you're sitting fourth right now in the Smart Modified Tour. They had a couple weeks off. I think you got one more week off before we get back at it on September 5th. So what's the outlook there as you put a bow on the championship at the stadium and now sit relatively well right now in the Smart Tour points and have an opportunity to go for that one as well?
Well, yeah, it's funny because, we were talking about how, I like to just go race any chance I get. So everybody else is off this weekend, but I'm actually going to Ace Speedway, and I'll be in the PSR house car, number 17,
okay,
in the 602 race. Slate's going to be running for Ross Dalton in the limited late model. So we're going to be racing this weekend. But, yeah, next weekend we go to Carteret County to pick up on the Smart Tour, and then I think we've got about 4 or 5 more after that. So their new format, you have to be in the top 5 with 3 to go. So we're poised to do that, but we still need to get a victory. I feel like we've been close. We've had a good car. Things just haven't went our way. And the Smart Tour right now is so competitive. You're just a couple hundredths away from being, the car to beat. So we're looking forward to getting picked back up on the Smart Tour and stretch our legs a little bit at some of these other tracks and see what we can do. But, yeah, our goal is to try to get some wins and to maybe get that championship this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned Carteret County. Are there any other the tracks on the schedule? I know we end at a place like North Wilkesboro that maybe you're like, all right, that's my shot right here. These are kind of the tracks I like, or are we kind of just circling all of them, saying I think we can win at either of them?
I like the stretch we have coming up. We've got Carteret, Caraway, Orange County, Tri-County, and North Wilkesboro. So let me think about this. I've won at 3 of those tracks. So 3 of the 5 I've got a victory at. So Wilkesboro, we've been really good there. It's funny because other than Slate, which he just started, everybody in the Myers family has won a race at North Wilkesboro. So they let me have it about that. My dad and Jason and Billy and Bobby. So, yeah, I need to get a win. I need to get several wins, but I want to cap it off with a win at North Wilkesboro and ride that lift and get that President's Trophy.
Oh, man, that is something else. I always am jealous of everybody that gets to take that ride. And I said, man, I can't imagine what it's like going up there to a place like North Wilkesboro. Bro, Burt, congratulations again on the championship, on all the success at Bowman Gray. Best of luck the rest of the way. And, yeah, keep us posted if you get that truck ride. We'll start getting the hype going here because we are certainly looking forward to that next year with the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. But appreciate your time as always. Always a pleasure catching up with you.
Thanks, man. And on this Labor Day weekend coming up next weekend, don't forget to go get your Citrus Safe grill cleaner and get that grill nice and cleaned up before you throw your hot dogs and hamburgers on. And we'll see you at Carteret County.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. Definitely need to do that. Burt Myers joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. Plenty more to come, including news and notes and the calendar for what's going on in your neck of the woods. That's all next. Stay tuned.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it!
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. Again, appreciate Burt Myers for joining us. A great conversation. Cool to hear he's got a Crown Vic that'll be able to race here coming up, as well as the rest of the Smart Tour. Going to run 602 this weekend. That's cool news to find out as well. Racers race. That's what they do. They find a way. And, again, all eyes will be on what truck maybe Burt Myers will be in next year when the Craftsman Truck Series pays a visit to the stadium. Boy, I hope it's a good one, too, because I think if we put him in some good equipment, watch out. Burt Myers could be stinking up the field there at Bowman Gray. But let's take a quick look back at the weekend. I mentioned some of the drama in the ARCA Menard Series. Let's start, though, with the Magic Mile. Of course, NASCAR was at New Hampshire Motor Speedway over the weekend. It kicked off with the Mohegan Sun 100 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and it was John McKennedy finally getting his first win at the Magic Mile, win number 3 of the season, and it came in dramatic fashion because it came down to a late race restart. He had to battle Tommy Catalano, who is no slouch behind the wheel of a modified, but he was also concerned on fuel. As a matter of fact, he crossed the checkered flag and ran out of fuel, had to get some assistance back to the pit lane, but he was able to hang on for a career win, or his third win of the season. Austin Beers now taking over the points lead. Patrick Emmerling starting to bleed some points here in the final third of the season, as McKennedy now is just 25 back after the victory. So a little three-horse race here at the front of the field. Austin Beers again trying to go back-to-back. He would love to get another win on the season, as they're next up at Stafford. The return of Stafford Speedway coming up in Connecticut on Friday, this Friday, August 28th. You can watch that race 8:45 p.m. on Flow Racing with Kyle Rickey on the mic, as well as the NASCAR channel will be playing that race live as well. Going to be a fun time. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Now, I mentioned the drama. ARCA Menard Series at Springfield. First of two dirt tracks on the year. Points championship, super tight. But so was the racing at the front of the field, and all the talk in the garage area and, of course, on social media after Sunday's event was what happened between Max Reeves and Gavin Boschel. Of course, Gavin coming from the dirt ranks before getting in the ARCA car, so he was one of the favorites coming in. They were battling side by side, a little hip check down the front straightaway, and then as Gavin took the lead into turns 1 and 2, Max Reeves with the Crone horn got them all crossed up. Gavin ended up spinning out, crashing, ruining his shot at a win. Max would go on to win the race and receive a chorus of boos down on the front straightaway at the Illinois State Fairgrounds, in addition to a not-so-happy Gavin Boschel, who marched his way all the way to victory lane before getting stopped by some of his Nitro Motorsports crew members, but was looking like he was going to have at least a strong-worded conversation, if not some physical fisticuffs, with Max Reeves after the race, although Max, of course, is still not 18 years of age, so that would have been a little sketchy. But nonetheless, it kind of sparked the question, where is the aggression line? Max Reeves now has kind of had this reputation of being aggressive. He's clearly leaning into becoming the villain. If you listen to his post-race interview, it was all about kind of soaking in the booze and the decibel meters, and if you don't like that, so be it. It was just very interesting. So I'm kind of curious to see how this all plays out throughout the rest of the season. Of course, he's still going for an East Championship as well, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as the series continues. But as you look at the points, though, Jake Bowman, boy, 4-point lead over Thomas Annunziata with a handful of races to go. Tristan McKee, of course, in the East Championship is up by 1 over Max Reeves. Those two have history. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, because they're back in action in the National Series this Friday at Madison International. So we go back to the short tracks on the pavement in Wisconsin coming up Friday, again, 9 o'clock Eastern, so a little later of a start on Flow Racing. And you heard Burt Myers talk about it. The inaugural Kyle Busch Invitational at Bowman Gray Stadium happened on Friday, where we brought 50 of the greatest Legends car drivers, including Burt Myers and others from the stadium, getting a chance to run in that race with 18 Bandolero drivers in a special night to honor the late Kyle Busch and, of course, support his foundation that he and his wife Samantha have set up, the Bundle of Joy Foundation. And it was an incredible evening. The grandstands were packed. Flow Racing did a nice job with the coverage. And when it was all said and done, Preston Risley picked up the inaugural win in the Legends car feature. Really an incredible night that saw a lot of emotions, with Samantha giving a nice speech to the crowd before the feature, and it was Preston's first win of the season and his first since Wake County since back in March. So really, really, really cool event. I really hope this takes off a little bit. Maybe we add some different divisions as well, or make it a 2-day show in conjunction with the modifieds and maybe have them run both nights as well. But certainly this was the vision from Kyle, and it was brought to life this year, and we really wish he was there to see it. We know he was there in person, but congratulations to Preston Risley, who picked up the victory. Some other winners over the weekend. Cars Tour at Anderson Speedway. We had a really interesting late model stock features. Carson Lofton scored his first Cars Tour win, and it came in 3-wide fashion because Chase Burgesson was going to go on to win the thing, had a right front failure, something with the suspension, the shock, something was slowing him down, and suddenly he put the old backup boogaloo on, and it was a 3-horse race at the very end. He was trying to hang on, but Carson Lofton got to his outside, picked up the win. Connor Jones was in the fight as well. They were swapping sheet metal there at the very end. It was a great race, but Carson Lofton getting his first win. And then Brody Monahan redeemed himself. He led every single lap of the Pro Late Model feature to get his first at Anderson. So that was a great event out at Anderson for the Cars Tour. South Boston, Peyton Sellers still there in the championship hunt. looked like it was maybe Trevor Ward who was going to pull away for his first championship at the racetrack, but he scored his 4th win on the year, did Peyton Sellers, and he is now right there with Trevor Ward with the title hopes still alive with now 2 races to go in that championship. Cordele Motor Speedway, Bubba Pollard snapped a recent slump on Saturday, passing Spencer Davis there on the outside to win the Georgia Summer Nationals. And then shout out to Garrett Smithley, NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series regular, picked up a rare appearance in a limited late model at Jennerstown, one of our NASCAR weekly tracks over the weekend. So Garrett Smithley, bravo. Getting back to victory lane in a race car. Some news and notes over the weekend, and as I mentioned, the big news coming out actually on Monday this week, make that Tuesday, that Lee Pulliam, a guest of the show, and of course a fan favorite when it comes to late models, one of the most decorated late model drivers of all time, 4-time Valley Star Credit Union 2-time Valley Star Credit Union 300 winner, 4-time national points NASCAR Weekly Series points champion, as well as a 6-time Harley-Davidson Thunder Road 200 winner at South Boston. He is going to go full-time in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series starting in 2027, next year. For Peterson Racing, of course, this is the team that currently Nick Sanchez drives for. We've seen Austin Green, who's, of course, been on this show as well, former ARCA winner, drive part-time for this car. It's now going to be Lee Pulliam getting the dream come true, the ride of a lifetime to go full-time in NASCAR's National Series. It'll actually begin this year. He's going to run 2 races for the team. If you remember, he ran Martinsville Virginia Motorsports earlier this year, had that incredible debut where he was in contention to win until a late race restart. Well, he's going to have a shot at Las Vegas Motor Speedway coming up during the chase this fall, as well as the Martinsville event, the third to last race of the season coming up in October. So 2 opportunities to see Lee Pulliam in NASCAR this year before he goes full-time beginning at Daytona next year. Congratulations to Lee. Of course, I'm sure we'll get him on the show at some point, but man, dreams do come true. Doesn't matter how old you are, so keep chasing him as he will get his coming up next year. Some racing this week on the calendar. I mentioned at the top of the show or in our recap that the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour makes its first return to Stafford Springs for the first time since 2021 as they visit Stafford Speedway for the JAF 150 coming up on Friday night. You can watch that race on Flow Racing, 8:45 p.m. also on the NASCAR channel. Justin Bonsignor won the last race back in 2021. He's back in the field. We mentioned the points battle between Austin Beers and Patrick Emmerling. Also right there now is John McKennedy because of that win, 25 points back. Austin Beer still hasn't won, and I'm curious now that everybody's starting to click off at least a win or two. Does he need a win to get back to being a champion for the second straight year? We'll have to find out. I think Stafford maybe a bit more of an equal playing field since a lot of the drivers haven't been there at least since 2021. If not, people like Austin Beers probably haven't been there in a modified tour race. We'll see what happens there coming up on Friday. 4 races left in the season. By the way, also too, Doug Coby is back, a 12-time Stafford winner. Of course, there's also some Spring Sizzler winners in the field as well. So we'll have to see what happens. But again, excited to see Kyle Rickey back on the mic at his home track coming up with the NASCAR with a modified tour on Friday night. The ARCA Menard Series, as mentioned, also Madison International Speedway, the Atlas 200 coming up on Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So you can kind of put a little double box on your Flow Racing account there to watch both. All eyes on Jake Bowman and Thomas and Newton-Ziata, again, 4-point difference with 5 races to go. Madison, a short track, kind of fast, though, for a short track. And Max Reeves actually won this race a year ago. So we'll see when the entry list comes out, I believe later today, as we record this on a Wednesday. We'll figure out what happens as far as if he's in the field to defend that race. Carson Brown, he's been good here in a super late model when it comes to the ASA Stars National Tour. He finished second here in June in that race as well. 15-year-old Taylor Mayhew, also a big one to follow along well. One of our short track up-and-comers, our youngsters, son of ARCA West driver and 7-time winner David Mayhew. Second series start coming up for Taylor this weekend, competing for Cook Racing Technologies and Bruce Cook. So a lot to watch there at Madison, 5 to go in the championship. Something's got to give between one of those two, although I feel like it's going to come down to Kansas for the season finale coming up in a few weeks. And also on your calendar, if you're in the northeast part of the United States, the way upper northeast in New England, the 53rd running of the Oxford 250 is happening this weekend. It's running Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Oxford Plains. Of course, Sunday, the culmination with over 50 cars entered for that exclusive event that has just stars of Northeast late model racing littered throughout it, including 6 former winners that account for 10 Oxford Plains championships in the field. Mike Rowe, 76 years young. He's going for his 4th Oxford 250, as well as he's going for his 7th track championship this year. Ben Rowe, his son, Johnny Clark, a former winner this one, as well as Eddie McDonald and Bubba Pollard. But there are drivers like DJ Shaw, who's a 9-time past champion that haven't won this race, but he is locked into the feature, I believe, by virtue of a qualifier win. So a lot to follow along. Again, that'll be on Racing America, but the Oxford 250 is also one of those marquee events every year, and best of luck to those competing this weekend. Some other races over the weekend. On Friday, the 500 Sprint Car Tour at Berlin. Autodrome Granby rounding out its season with a few more weekly series shows as well. Saturday, we have Pro Late Models on the road to the Snowball Derby at Five Flag Speedway. Legends Cars at Riverhead. Berlin Championship night for their weekly series, so putting a bow on 2026 already. South Boston Langley have weekly shows. Cars Tour West at All-American. NASCAR Canada Series also back. They're down to about 4 or 5 races to go in their season as well. They're at the Napa 100 in Mirabel, Quebec. And then Sunday, a little super late model Triple Crown action at Slinger. A lot of races coming up for you on your docket as well. Before we let the folks know, Pat, about our MRN coverage this weekend out at where are we going? Daytona. I just had a little brain fart. I'm talking about so many racetracks right now. We're going to Daytona, and as a matter of fact, we're going tomorrow. But before we do that and talk about the regular season finale, curious what your final thoughts are as far as the short track schedule and our NASCAR touring and weekly series events.
First off, congratulations to Burt Myers once again. That was an awesome interview.
Yeah.
Always love having Burt on. And, man, what a legend. I cannot wait to see if he finds a sponsor, if he finds a ride. There's no reason why he shouldn't be in a competitive truck for Bowman Gray next year. That's going to be awesome, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But I want to talk to you about Daytona. Quite a few of our former NASCAR regional drivers are fighting for a spot in the playoffs. The closest points battle is in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series between Rajah Caruth, Taylor Gray, Brent Cruz, and William Sawalich. 3 of the 4 we've had on this show in the last year talking about their grassroots journey and rising through the ranks. Who gets it done? Rajah's 15 points out, Taylor Gray's 1 point out. Then you've got Brent Cruz and William Sawalich tied at 11th and 12th. Who do you think gets the job done? Can Rajah Caruth climb the ladder 15 points back? You got a lot of confidence coming out of Iowa.
Yeah, so it's funny that you brought this up because I had this very same conversation with Dylan Mamba Smith, who many in the NASCAR world know, and Dylan Welch as well as Davey Siegel. We had a little debate about it yesterday. So if you look at it, there are 4 guys not locked in officially. It's already pretty impressive that we have 8 locked in. But you got Parker Retzlaff, who I think is pretty much safe. Barring an early lap 5 crash, I think he's good because he's coming in 46 to the good. Sam Mayer's 19 to the good. He has to have a good day. He's kind of in that purgatory land where you need to play a little defense, but you also need to play a little offense too. But I feel like the Haas factory team, with their alliance with the Hendrick Engine Shop, I think they're going to be okay as far as just the raw speed and being there in the pack, and Sam's a really good speedway racer. I think Sam's okay. Where it gets interesting is you've got 3 Joe Gibbs Racing drivers battling it out. And you kind of look at their stats, and yes, if you look at it, Brent Cruz has the least amount of experience on super speedway racing. Well, why? Because he missed Daytona, and I believe he missed Talladega because he wasn't 18 yet. Remember, he had his birthday, he missed the first 4 or 5 races of the season. So he comes in with maybe Atlanta as his most super speedway-esque style of racing on his resume. So I wonder if that's going to come bite him. You also wonder, how do they work together? Places like Daytona, you got to have friends, you got to have teammates. The JRM cars, everybody except Rajah is locked in. So Raj has his teammates that are going to be able to rally around him and help him out. I think he's in the best position because also he has nothing to lose. He is the farthest out, as you mentioned, sitting 84 points back. 15 points back. So I feel like he has the least amount to lose. He could be the most aggressive. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised coming off of that runner-up finish at Iowa that he wouldn't be a threat to go win the race. So I have Rajah in, Parker in, Sam Mayer in.
Okay.
And I have William Sawalich over Taylor Gray, and the only reason why is because Taylor Gray, I love him to death. He's one of my favorite people to talk to. There always comes that time in pressure-packed situations where something happens. He puts himself in a bad spot, whether they have a miscue on pit road. Now, granted, with the shorter length of the race for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series as compared to February, there's not going to be really a lot of opportunity for maybe even a green flag pit stop. We're really just going to see him under caution. So take that out a little bit. But nonetheless, there's always something that happens and gets swept up in something. I feel like William Sawalich has run really, really well the last handful of races, including Iowa. I think he bests his teammates. So Parker, Sam, Sawalich, and Raja are my 4 getting in.
I like it. I agree with you. One last item coming down as we
Yes.
record. Carson Brown, RCR has announced that he will drive for them next year in the number 2 with Whelen as a sponsor full-time in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Thoughts?
I mean, no surprise. I think we were kind of wondering if this wasn't going to come any sooner, after the news of Jesse Love's departure to the Wood Brothers and Cup Series next year. I love it. I mean, he's already gotten test laps behind the wheel at North Wilkesboro. He made his debut at was it Iowa Speedway, actually, for Jordan Anderson, of course, a Chevrolet-affiliated team. But, I mean, all roads pointed to Carson Brown wheeling one of these 2 Chevrolets. Now the question is, who wheels the 21 next year with Austin Hill going full-time Cup?
Chandler Smith.
Chandler Smith is the shoe-in for that one. I like that dichotomy between the two, the dynamic, because you've got this young rookie with so much talent. And, I mean, he qualified top 10 there at Iowa in a Jordan Anderson car and ran really well. I wouldn't be surprised, too, if you have Chandler Smith, who kind of brings that veteran energy. He's been in the series before. I'm not surprised. I think it's a really good move for RCR because you kind of give a nod to some veteran experience, but also showing your investment in the next Jesse Love, the next rookie to come in and be here for 2-3 seasons to really learn, develop. I mean, he's young, really young. So it's going to be a learning curve for sure, but I love it. What he's done in the late models this year, the super late models, balancing that, his ARCA starts with PRG, it's been really impressive. I think you look at, that's kind of the new wave of racer now is the versatility. You've got to be good at everything. So he's shown that. So yeah, I love it. I think it's really exciting, and we'll see if he maybe moonlights in a couple other races this year just to get his feet wet, but it'll be cool to see him on the grid at Daytona. It'll be weird to not say Jesse Love in the wheeling number 2.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to take a minute because, I mean, Jesse's been in and out 3 years. So, but yeah, congratulations to Carson. Big news this week.
Just wanted to throw that in there before we got out of here.
I'm glad you saw that.
Yes, congratulations to both Carson Brown and Chandler Smith. It's very interesting that Chandler Smith's going to that 21. I think people forget that Austin Hill in 5 seasons never missed the playoffs in the 21, A, and B, the other part about that, 16 wins. So the opportunity to win at RCR is there in both the 21 and the 2. Jesse Love, our reigning champion. So there is opportunity in those vehicles for those 2 drivers. And also congratulations to Austin Hill, who was announced yesterday as the full-time driver, 2 days ago, as the full-time driver of the Cup car alongside Austin Dillon next season.
Yeah, and to your point, there is opportunities to win and win quickly and win often, and I think it'll be a nice reset for the O'Reilly Auto Parts side of the shop at RCR. We were talking yesterday about Jesse Love and Austin Hill, kind of like, has this been a down year for them? Like, Austin, yes, he's locked in the chase, but he's buried in 7th. At one point, Jesse Love was up there contending for the top spot with Justin Allgaier just based on consistency. He's kind of faded back, locked in into the playoffs or into the chase, but he's 4th, and it's kind of been a rough stretch for them between the loose wheel lug at Indianapolis. They had another pit road issue a couple weeks prior. Then they had the issue at Iowa that put them back. They were back behind the wall. You wonder if there's external factors like the fact Jesse Love's going Cup racing next year. Austin Hill has been very, very open every time I've talked to him every week that I've worked, saying, the stress level and the work commitment to run both series full time this year since he stepped behind the wheel of the 33 after Kyle's death. It takes a toll. You're not 100% locked in, and I wonder if some of that is showing on the results sheet. So it'll be nice next year when Austin can focus on the Cup car. Jesse has his opportunity at Wood Brothers. Now you get 2 full-time guys that are locked in and are putting 1,000% on these 2 cars in Carson Brown and Chandler Smith. So, yes, opportunities to win. I think we'll see those 2 cars compete for a championship, possibly at least one of them next year with either of those drivers.
Yep, Chandler Smith has been steady Eddie in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and Carson still has a long way to go in terms of development. He's nowhere near a finished product, but that's what that series is for.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But great show as always. I'm very excited for Daytona. I would love to see Rajah Caruth make the playoffs. I'm all about the underdog battles. Ryan Preece as well, a former NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour champion, a great racer as well. I'm always rooting for the little guys and the short track guys just because of this program and what we do here on NASCAR Coast to Coast. But regardless, we're going to have no shortage of drama and incredible racing at the World Center of Racing here this weekend.
We certainly are, Pat. Let's let our viewers know when you can tune in to the Motor Racing Network. Of course, it all begins on Friday with pole qualifying, no practice at Daytona. Qualifying set to begin at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MRN. Following that broadcast, immediately will be the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series regular season finale, the Winn-Dixie 250 powered by Coca-Cola. That airtime 7 p.m. Eastern on the Motor Racing Network. Then a night race to settle things for the Cup Series as our top 16 get locked in for the chase for the Cup Series championship. That'll begin on Saturday night. NASCAR Live Race Day will get you set 6:30 p.m. Eastern for the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Excited to bring you all the action. Looking forward to finally getting back with my friends at the Motor Racing Network. It's been, when you look at all the standalones we've had and then the couple weeks off with our friends at PRN, it's been like 6 weeks since I've covered a Cup race, so it'll be nice to be back down at Daytona with the boys and folks at the Motor Racing Network. But looking forward to it. Of course, you mentioned the closeness in the O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's a heavyweight title fight, Ryan Preece versus SVG to get into the chase this year on the Cup side. There are still some that are mathematically eligible but may need some help, like Brad Keselowski. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Looking forward to getting down there this weekend. And, of course, we look forward to having you all as listeners to the Motor Racing Network, again, beginning on Friday. Well, that does it for us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast. What a great episode. Thank you to Burt Myers for joining us this week. For Pat Jaggers, my name is Chris Wilner. Enjoy your weekend of short track racing. And, of course, we will see you next week. Have a good night, everyone.